This is my review on Equilibrium. So, we forget to look at what. Okay, I forget that. There's only one problem. I forget the main character's name. But he's Mr. Number One at his job. And his job is destroy everything involving the past that involves passion and feeling. Like art and books and stuff. And this takes place in the future when individuality is illegal. So this is a drug that takes away your personality and individuality. And takes away your emotions, basically, I guess. Or suppresses the emotions, I guess. It's not really explained how this drug works, yet he cares very deep. He's a family man who cares very deeply about his kids. And very traumatized when his wife had to get executed for not taking a medicine, for being a failure. While his kids and him were taking their medicines and not feeling, yet he loved his wife so much, and you can see he's very happy with his wife. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Well, this drug that's supposed to suppress feelings doesn't fully suppress feelings. Completely, it's very confusing. We find out in the flashback scene, and so after he's in a jail on a job with his partner, his long-term partner, turns out he figures out his partner is a failure because he feels like figures out his partner hasn't been taking his medicine after realizing he hasn't returned a book to that was they said it was going to be after he hasn't confiscated a book, but instead reading it. It is the Bible. Very confusing. And anyway, he has a bit of he feels he puts his partner down by shooting him in the head, because this is a philosophy in this future that those who have them who are failures they go by, that they call them failures, and those who are failures are dangerous because that's what will lead to terrorism when it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it. Analyzing the plot, and it's not really explained to, and also says that's what lead to dictatorship and terrorism, when Christian Bale's job is literally dictatorship and terrorism. Just legally, it's being done. And so it's kind of confusing when you... So confusing, I guess. And works for this organization. Yes, it's confusing, but Equilibrium is one of those films that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's what it makes up is good acting and really likable characters that makes it. I'm going to say that my explanation for the end. My opinion. Well, I'm trying to say this is a B film, like The Shining. It's just your idea popcorn film like The Shining. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense like The Shining, but unlike The Shining, it goes more to try dive more into explaining things like unlike The Shining. But however, when you really see, sometimes with B films, B popcorn films like The Shining and Equilibrium, sometimes when you try to explain more things, you get more confused. And anyway, let's talk about something. One day he can't take his medicine and decides to do the job first before taking. He realized. He runs out of his medicine one day and starts feeling and says he's going to pick up his medicine after the job, because he puts the job first in front of everything else, because the job is his number one priority. But then after one day, he starts feeling stuff and noticing stuff, like his job and the moral complexity of his job, and seeing a different point of view while doing his job. Like, it might be a bit wrong with what he's doing and messed up. And it's late to reveal that the kid his daughter and son are fearless. It's late to reveal that his son is a failure, and figured it out that his father was a failure a while ago, and stole his medicine and found out where he was hiding it, and stole and popped up and revealed to him that he's a failure to Christian Bale's character. And he asked if are you looking for your medicine, and he reveals that he's a failure too. And as he's been a failure for a while, him and his sister. So he starts working with the failures, the rebels, against that, trying to fight the power and fight for the right to feel again for all humankind, and all art and books and everything involving culture to be legal again. And he sort of does this. He wins the battle by playing on both sides, by working, by being a mole and on his, by being a mole in his job, by also working really hard at outsmarting the person, the people, and so he gets caught by his new partner, and then he confesses that he found the mole, and then he's looking at his partner, like, explains that he switched his guns with his partner. So that the person that committed the murder to save the dog was, well, a German Shepherd to save the dog because, which was really Christian Bale's character that saved the dog because he found it so cute and lovable. He says he was going to execute it himself, but only to later to reveal that he was going to let it go and release it into the wild. So then he gets caught red-handed, and he kills two people that caught him red-handed, and it wasn't his fingerprints that were at the crime scene. It was his partner's because he switched guns with his partner at some point in the movie, and we see it on screen. And we see later that he used his partner's fingerprints and fingerprints somehow, which isn't a whole lot explained when you really think about it, because how did he know that he was going to commit those crimes for the great good, and knew who to pin it on ahead of time in a specific order? So he ends up having this short-term relationship that he falls in love with another woman because he's just sexually attractive, but they don't have sex, but they're thinking about it, you can tell. And she has to get executed the next day. And he goes to stop the execution because he thinks he figured out a way to stop the execution. Found a loophole, if you will. I know you're thinking this. This just sounds. So I don't know why the relationship was for, but anyway, he's now the Resistance Trust, and then ends up ratting them out to make his disguise as a non-fail more convincing. And by doing this, he gets promotion, and he's asked to see this guy who's who's on top of the food chain, so we can meet him in person as return for his noble sacrifice for his job, and they agree, and so he ends up getting outsmarted. He does meet the person, and after he tricks everyone and saying the mole is the black guy, that he's the failure, when it's really Christian Bale's character. And so anyway, so he ends up getting outsmarted because they end up figuring out the truth and not executing the black guy because they end up figuring out the truth ahead of time. So Christian Bale gets outsmarted, but and it looks like he's about to break in tears, but then he actually calms down for some reason, and they realize that they all said holy shit because they know what that means, because I guess because he says he didn't miscalculate, so his emotions spike from bursting into tears, and he takes a low back and calms down his emotions. So I guess, and then right before he's about to murder everyone, including the main bad guy. And real good old-fashioned style. Lots of action. There's lots of action in the scene, and the main guy who fights us off is not the main bad guy, but his partner, his new partner, who he backstabbed by convincing everyone that he was the mold. And it goes on for, the fighting goes on for, it's somewhere in between long and short. So it's not short, but it's not long either. As in not long enough, the final fight thing. So after he kills that person, and he actually goes to kill the head bad guy who is the leader of the dictatorship, who is basically a future Hitler. And he reveals to Christian Bale's character that he's a failure also. But Christian Bale has no, and asks if he can is he okay with killing one of his own kind of failure? And he says he's happy to. And so says he says it's happy to live with this, to kill a fella that is his own kind, this for the greater good. Basically, he says, and just shoots him in the head. And everyone's and the feelers are killing everyone who are not feelers, because they got together and reveal themselves as failed, that there are more people who are failers than the people who are not failers. So they all get murdered, while Christian Bale is enjoying the sunset in the view of everyone getting murdered. And that was Equilibrium. It's not a bad movie, actually, even though it doesn't make a lick of sense. I mean, it has good acting, and the story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It makes up for it's kind of like Hellboy, It's not that the story does not. It has more of a story than Hellboy, and it makes less sense than Hellboy and The Shining. It has more of a story than those two films. It just explains more stuff. But that's probably works for its disadvantage, because it explains more stuff than those two movies. See, those two movies helped with the first Hellboy film from 2005 and the 1980 Shining starring Jack Nicholson. Were dumb films, but it was smart enough to not explain so much. This explains so much, and it ends up shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. But it makes up for incorporating so much fun and nice action things like Hellboy, and style, and looking cool. What that means, style, I think. Looking cool all at once. And I think part of the reason why I don't hate this film is because of Christian Bale's performance. He does a really good job in it. Given the film doesn't really have that much. Now, the plot doesn't make that much sense at all. It makes no sense once. It makes more sense than you would want. It makes more. Hang on, I got a drink. I myself one water. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, it makes more sense while you're watching it than it really does in reality. But doesn't really make it a total piece of shit. But it does make it grand masterpiece. a grand epic masterpiece. That's a grand story. That's brilliant. So it kind of falls in between those categories. Like The Shining, the first 2005 Hellboy film, starring Ron Perlman. And when I say The Shining, I don't mean the 1997 Shining I mean the 1980 Shining that both, nobody saw either one of those films when it came out. Yet the 1981 got a cult following. How much bigger why will it appeal over time? And you can see why both this Equilibrium and The Shining are lots and lots of fun. See, I believe if the story doesn't always. Do you remember when I said a story doesn't always have to make sense? This is exactly what I meant by it. This movie is the shining example of what I meant by it. Hey, I said the shining example like The Shining. And also another shining example of it is The Shining and Hellboy 2005. Those films, all really films I mentioned, would be better if they remake them for this day. Today, Hellboy's already happened, so that's off the table. But The Shining and Equilibrium would be better for it. Would be a lot better if they just remake them, even though they're not technically awful pieces of shit. Even though the story doesn't make sense, that doesn't mean they're awful pieces of shit. That just makes them your idea of a popcorn film. A good idea of a popcorn film, not a bad idea of a popcorn film, like Mystery Man, or let's say what's that movie? I forget what the movie was. Or Wonder Woman, 2007 Wonder Woman. I mean 2017's Wonder Woman. Or, no, that wasn't what I was thinking of. Huh. It must have been so bad I must have forgot about it. Or I just exhausted my brain from this review. I can't remember it. Maybe it's both. But I reviewed that film on my show also. So, what am I giving this? 10 out of 10. Actually, yeah, the story's not that great at all. But neither was The Shining, the Jack Nicholson one, take on The Shining, or 2005 Hellboy. But it makes up with such a level of adrenaline rush. It makes up for a serious level of adrenaline rush and good performance mostly from Christian Bale, and also tons of fun and tons of looking all around cool. So sort of like most of Mission Impossible movies, is what I'm trying to say, basically. Except for MI3. That was just too good for a Mission Impossible movie. Is what I'm trying to say. Dumb, but fun dumb. The good kind of dumb. Not the bad kind of dumb. There's two kinds of dumb. There's the bad, awful, dreadful kind of dumb. And there's the fun, exciting, good kind of dumb. This one's the second one.